Hi, welcome to Art Sparks. I am Mrs. Lewis, and I am so happy to be here with your class today. I have two children in Allen ISD. I have a fourth grader and a seventh grader. Thank you so much for having me in your class today, and thank you to your teachers for having us in so that we can have just a little nugget of art joy in your day today. Yes, this is Art Sparks. It looks different than it has in the past, but you're still going to see amazing art and you're going to have the opportunity to do some fun projects if you'd like to. So to start with, we are going to talk about the 3 rules of art. The first rule of art is that we always respect the art. We never go running up to art and grab at it and poke. Ooh, look at this, and show our friends. We don't touch art. We always make sure we're an arm's length away, maybe even 2 arm lengths away. And this is particularly important if we're in a museum or a gallery or any place where original art is being exhibited. The art is valuable because of what it is, but it's also valuable because it has a place in society and it was made by a person and it has value to that person also. The second rule in art is that we respect each other. We respect our friends and our friends' ideas about the art. We don't make fun of each other. We don't laugh at each other's ideas because everybody's interaction with the art is unique and it's their own experience. And the third rule in art is that there are no wrong answers in art. So it's awesome. If you see a bunch of boats in a painting and your friend says, I think they're all unicorns, that's okay. Your friend can think they're all unicorns because whatever somebody's experiences with the art is theirs. They react to it differently. It makes them think of different things. It's all okay. There's no wrong answers in art. Well, today we are going to talk about photography in art. The very first photo of a known place was taken in France in 1826. So now let's take a look at our art for today. Great, here we are, Art of Photography. Here is our first piece. It is titled Earthrise. And it was taken by William Anders in 1968. He was an Apollo 8 astronaut in the Apollo 8 space mission. And the Apollo 8 astronauts were the first people to orbit the Earth. And they were so busy looking at the moon, that's the surface of the moon, that they didn't even realize that they would see the sun rising over the moon, just like the moon rises over the Earth. And they quick snapped a picture. You're going to have to think about how they snapped that picture. And this is the first picture that's ever been taken of the Earth rising over the moon. How do you think this photo was taken? Did they go outside of the Apollo 8? Don't think so. They took it through the window, through the big window in the front that they could use to navigate with. What differences do you see in how the Earth looks and the moon looks? Take a look at that. And are the astronauts closer to the moon or to the Earth? And look at the colors on the Earth. What is going on there with the blue and the white and the swirling and the movement? What is all of that? Remember, this is the first time anyone had ever seen it happen like that. And also, why can't you see all of the Earth in this picture? Our next piece is called The Horse in Motion. This was taken by Edward Muybridge in 1878, and even though he was an Englishman, he spent a lot of his adult life in California, and that's where this was taken. This is actually considered to be the very beginning of motion pictures or movies as we know them today. And I think if you take a look at that, you might be able to see why. And then when you hear about the way it was made, it will really make sense. So there used to be a big debate. When a horse ran, was there ever a time when all four hoofs were off the ground? Or did a horse always have one hoof on the ground at all times? I know, you think, why are they thinking about this? Well, in 1878, horses were everywhere. They were like cars. You couldn't go down the street without seeing a horse. People's lives were dominated by horses, mules, oxen. That's how they got around. And so how a horse performed was a big deal. It was important to people. And so Edward Muybridge had an idea, and he set up a series of cameras. And the horse zoomed through, and the camera took pictures, one after the other after the other. So when you look at these pictures, what's the outcome? Does a horse have a hoof on the ground at all times? Or is there ever a time when all four hooves are off the ground? What do you think? Now, how do you think the idea of making movies evolved from photographic series like these? And cartoons. Cartoons are also done like this. So this was the start of something big. This piece is called Dunes by Ansel Adams in 1948. Ansel Adams is one of the most famous photographers in history. He was an American photographer, and he really brought photography as an art form. He was incredibly famous for photographing the American outdoors. He loved America's mountains and forests, and this right here is Death Valley in Arizona. So this photograph was taken in the desert in Death Valley, and he wanted people to look at the light. The photographing in the desert was considered very difficult because the sun is so bright all the time, and the winds are howling, and there's sand everywhere. But Ansel Adams decided to use that to his benefit. So look at the light. Instead of just a dry, sandy, bleh, what do you see? What did he do? How did he make it so interesting? Where did those lines in the sand come from? Where do you think the light is coming from? Where do you think the sun is right now in this picture? How did he make it look so dramatic? Also, would you like to go spend 2 weeks in the desert photographing sand dunes and sandstorms? What would you think? This photograph is entitled Afghan Girl. It was taken by a man named Steve McCurry in 1984. He was a photographer for National Geographic, the magazine, and he was in Afghan in the middle of the war zone, taking pictures of how the war was impacting the people who lived there and the refugees. And he saw this girl in a refugee camp. She's probably 12, 13 years old. She's an orphan, just in the camp, trying to stay alive. And he snapped this picture of her. This is one of the most famous pictures of the 20th century. From 1900 to 2000, this is one of the best known pictures ever taken. Why? What do you feel when you look at her face? Well, Steve McCurry went back to Afghanistan in 2002, so almost 20 years after the picture was taken, and he found her, and her name is Sharbat Gala, and she was a grown woman with her own family. So, why do you think the photo is so famous? Wow, we are done with our Art Sparks pictures today. We covered a lot today. We saw some things that were interesting, abstract, joyous, pretty intense, but lots of interesting things. Photography is a really great medium for art. Now here's some activity ideas if you have a few moments. You can take a photo of something from a unique or a new angle. Maybe try shining a light on it from a specific way. You can write a story about one of the photos you saw today. You might even try to make a story, perhaps in a comic strip format, about that photo. And also, is there a person you'd really like to photograph? Like, what would you have them doing when you photograph them? Thank you so much for having me in Art Sparks today. I really enjoyed being here with you to share a little bit of art in your day today. I hope you have an opportunity to try one of the fun activities. I hope you can think about some of the amazing photographs we saw today and think about how different photography has become, from these old black and white grainy images up to the intense images that we have today. And the fact that every single one of us carries around a world-class camera in our back pocket. It's pretty impressive. Thank you again for having me in class, and thank you to your awesome teachers. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you soon.